Hello, Kathy Brennan here, helping you to look better, feel better, and do better. I'm continuing my series on habits. I'm very excited about this week. This week's habit is make a habit of being non-judgmental. I'm so excited about this because I can be very judgmental. And working on this habit, writing about it, thinking about it, has really brought to light some really good, important truths that can help you, as well as me, be non-judgmental. So what does it mean to be non-judgmental? Some people think, you might very likely think, well, I need to use my judgment. You might think, if I don't use my judgment, I'll be taken advantage of. So I need to do that. I just want you to tweak it a little bit. Instead of being judgmental, be discerning. Think about what's good about this, what's bad about this, what works, what doesn't work. That's being discerning. Judgmental is when you slam down the hammer and you come up with a judgment, a conclusion, instead of being open to, okay, this is what I know, but what don't I know here? It takes a little humility to do that. You also might be thinking, well, I have all these experiences in my past. If I don't use those experiences to judge what's going on right now, that would be silly. That is also true. Yes, you do want to use your experiences, but again, don't only use your experiences. Look for what else might be true in this situation right now that's maybe even a little different than your experiences. And that's difficult because we get pretty wrapped up into what we believe based on what we've experienced. But being non-judgmental leaves you open to that. What don't I know here? Well, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I can get real judgy. And I was thinking, why do I get judgy? What is that? It could be out of fear, absolutely, that I want to defend my position, want to defend my truth, and so I get judgy real quickly. Another thing is, I get judgmental when I believe there is one way to do something, or there's one way to think about something. Then when someone else does something a different way, let's say you're driving in the car and someone drives a different way to go to your friend's house than you would, and you think, well, that's not the right way. And then I judge the driver as wrong because I believe there's just one way to get to my friend's house, and it's the best way, and it's the only way, and it's the preferred way, and doesn't everyone see that my way is the right way? So I get real judgy when I think that, or this is even a bigger one, when I think there's one way to believe. There's one way to believe. You might have a value of timeliness, which is one of my habits. And if you believe there's only, if a person is not on time, I'm going to judge them as wrong because I believe that's the only thing that could have happened here. I'm not open to, getting pulled over by the police on the way to meet me, or some other kind of thing that could happen. If I immediately judge them for not being on time, because I believe I just have one truth here, one belief, just what's in my head. I also get real judgy when people don't meet my expectations. And again, my expectations are just based on what I think is true, and what I think is right, and what I think is appropriate, and what I think is kind. If people don't meet my expectations, I get real judgy with them. So I want to drop my expectations and be open to other ways of doing things and other ways of thinking. Well, why is this a good habit? Why would you let go of what you believe? Why would you stay open to other ideas? Well, this is the main one for me. I cannot love people that I'm judging. I can't love them. You know why? Because loving requires acceptance. I need to accept you for who you are in order to love you. And if I'm judging you, I can't do that. I've already decided my way is right and I'm not accepting who you are or what you're doing. So I cannot hold judgment and love together. I can hold discernment and love together. I can see what you're doing. I don't need to judge it. And I can love you. Okay, the second principle here, why this is a good habit, is everyone is your teacher. There's a quote I want to read that it says this beautifully. If you haven't heard this idea that everyone is your teacher, everyone that comes into your life is your teacher. This is the quote. Everyone is my teacher. Some I seek, some I subconsciously attract. Often I learn simply by observing others. Some may be completely unaware that I'm learning from them, yet I bow deeply in gratitude. Have you ever watched people? You can even watch people and say, oh, I don't want to do it that way, or I do want to do it that way. Or someone even annoying comes into your life and you think, oh, they have nothing to teach me because they're so annoying. Well, you might learn to not be annoyed. If everyone is your teacher, sometimes we attract that which we need the most. And the third reason I want to talk about why it's a good habit to be non-judgmental is you are just going to be easier to be around. We all want to be accepted. We all want to be heard. And if I'm judging you, you don't feel accepted by me. And I'm not going to be easy for you to be around. People feel accepted by people who are non-judgmental. Now, I just want to be careful here. If you see someone doing something, they haven't judged you, but you just see them doing something and you're like, dang, I wish I had that amount of discipline, or I wish I was that charming, or I wish I could do that skill as well. You might in your mind think, oh, they're judging me because I'm not as good as they are. But they've never said they're judging you. So just let that go. We kind of mirror our judgment of ourselves off of other people. So just be careful. And then be accepting and be non-judgmental. You'll be easier to be around. So how do you form this habit? Well, first, you need to practice listening. We need to practice listening. This is huge for me. I just can't even tell you. When I practice listening, I will stop jumping to a judgment. I'm so quick in my mind. But when I'm not practicing listening and slowing myself down, I jump right to these judgments instead of listen and let it sit there. And so I don't jump to the conclusion or a judgment. The second one is be humble enough to understand that your perspective, your life experiences, what you see right now, how you live, how you feel, that's only your perspective. And your perspective is not everybody else's perspective. If you had walked in someone else's shoes, anyone else's shoes, you would have a different perspective. Now, often we hang around people that all have walked in the same shoes we have, so then it's more comfortable that way. But just realize that if someone tells you something based on their experiences, listen to them. You didn't live their experiences. Listen to them. You can really learn a lot and expand your own perspective by listening and being humble enough to understand that your perspective is not the only one. The third way to form this habit of being non-judgmental is be curious. Be curious. I think, just pay attention. Very few people ask questions. Most people just want to tell you everything they're thinking and everything they believe and everything about themselves. Very few people are actually curious. Like, because it takes that humility again. Like, what don't I know here? Instead of telling you everything I know, I need to say, okay, what, give me your perspective, give me your experience. Even if it's something I have experienced, I want to know it from their point of view. So the power of asking questions is underrated. This is just a really good skill. And our ego is not curious. Our ego is always right. That ego inside of us doesn't even need to ask questions because we are sure that we know everything. And we're sure everyone else is wrong. That builds our ego up. Now, I've been watching Ted Lasso, and there's a scene in Ted Lasso where he talks about being curious instead of judgmental. And in my blog, which I'm going to post tomorrow on Wednesday, I've got a clip from that Ted Lasso episode. If you haven't watched it, you'll get a little taste of it in this clip. And I actually was just watching this, rewatching it last night. I'm like, oh, that is a perfect clip for this whole habit of being non-judgmental. And the last thing is give yourself time. When you're not rushing to judgment, when you're giving yourself time to listen and figure out another person's perspective, it takes time, almost like a coffee pot. Let it percolate. Let it just sit there. For me, at least, I will have to say, it doesn't always hit me right away. And if I rush to judgment, then I never have time to sit and ponder and think, oh, now I get what they were saying. And then you might even have more questions for them the next time you meet. But give yourself that time. You're not going to quickly come to a new understanding. Give yourself time. So make a habit of being non-judgmental. It is going to help you, help your life, help your relationship. It's just going to help everything. Make a habit of being non-judgmental. Be well.